evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don with you in Weather Chat Live on your Friday evening as we get high school football underway in the great state of Alabama. We're going to be showing you the radar here in just a few minutes for East Alabama and West Georgia. But first, we want to thank the folks who make all this possible. Southern Union State Community College, Wadley, Opelika and Valley, also Cody Yarborough, Southeast Soft Wash Exterior Cleaning Experts. Mr. Brandon Brown at BR Construction, licensed home builder. If you have home building needs, BR Construction. Also, we want to thank Mr. Micah Farr. He is running for mayor, city of Roanoke. Also, Joey Knight of Auction 431 South down in Phoenix City, Alabama. Jimmy Stevens of Jimmy Stevens Construction, remodeling and new homes. Thanks to Jamie Dukas, your Alpha Insurance agent. He is a proud sponsor of Dr. Don's Weather Page, along with Rick and Becky Rainwater, Remax Lakefront. Joey Knight of Anchor Roofing, free estimates and free inspections. Neil Johnson of Superior Heating and Air Conditioning. Also thanks to Mike Fisher. Mike Fisher also running for mayor, city of Roanoke. Judy Aubrey, Shepherd's Fine Jewelry and Gifts in downtown Roanoke. And also thanks to Mr. Mark Mitchell of Bama Diesel Repair in Woodland, Alabama. All right, so let's go over and take a look at the live Southern Union State Community College Doppler HD radar for those of you that are about to head out to your local high school venues across East Alabama. For the moment, we're doing pretty good, but we do have low pressure spinning over eastern Mississippi, and that is, is kicking some showers and thunderstorms back into West Alabama, and they are slowly migrating toward East Alabama. So we're going to have to keep a watch on this as we go throughout the evening. Right now, we're in good shape all across East Alabama. If you're over in Clay County, Randolph, up in Cleburne, down in Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers, Lee County, you're looking pretty good for high school football right now. Now, if you're over in Talladega County, out there on Highway 280, where Talladega goes or borders with St. Clair County, we do have a heavy thunderstorm over there that may have some hail in it. And let's go in a little bit tighter here on East Alabama. We do have a storm there just north of Lynette, right there on I-85. That should be moving off to the northeast, so it should be moving away from the Lynette area. But look at this stuff over here on the west, and we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Storm right there near Childersburg. That will continue off to the east-northeast. Should stay in northern Clay County and maybe up into Cleburne a little later on. But this stuff over here south of Alabaster, just west of Clanton, down to just northwest of Selma, all of that's going to be moving off to the east-northeast. So we'll have to watch that for some of our ball game venues in East Alabama within the next couple of hours. So we'll keep an eye on that for you right here on Dr. Don's Weather Page. If this stuff does get into East Alabama, we'll go live and we'll cover that for you. The game plan right now is to stay with you until the top of the hour, 7 o'clock Central. Then we'll wrap things up as the ball games get underway across East Alabama. But, again, if we have threatening weather at any of our venues, we will come right back on and we will cover that for you. So if you're going to a ball game tonight and practicing your social distancing, if you see threatening clouds in the area, then get on that cell phone and go to Dr. Don's Weather Page. We'll be here covering that for you. We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. One of them is down in southwest Alabama. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for Marengo County in southwest Alabama. That's in effect for about another 25 minutes. The severe thunderstorm located near Dixon Mill, or 10 miles northwest of Thomasville. This is moving off to the north at about 20 miles per hour. And then there's another one down here right on the Alabama-Mississippi state line. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for Washington County in southwest Alabama, Wayne County in southeast Mississippi, and northeast Greene County in southeast Mississippi. That's in effect until 6:45. and that is moving off to the north at about 15 miles per hour. So that's the only severe weather right now. We do have a special weather statement for Tuscaloosa County for a heavy thunderstorm that's now north of downtown Tuscaloosa. We have a special weather statement down here in South Alabama. That is going to be for Butler, East Central Conecuh, and northwestern Covington County until 6:30 this evening. So that's it as far as the special weather statements and the severe weather. I believe the National Weather Service, they did. Birmingham just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to be for Marengo County. And that's going to be down here that we were just showing you. They just reissued that severe thunderstorm warning for this cluster of storms down here in southwest Alabama. If you're traveling up toward Atlanta, we've got some flooding issues in Atlanta. The National Weather Service just issuing a flood warning, and we're being told that we got some pretty nasty travel problems on Highway 400 there at the 285 and Highway 400 interchange. That's because of this big red blob you see here. Also, there were some reports of flooding on 75, I-75 north of downtown as well. And if you look out there around Auburn, Georgia, we've got some very heavy rainfall occurring out there just south of I-85. So that's where we are. Right now, we're looking pretty good, other than that one thunder shower there near Lynette. And let's just go down there and look at that. That's going to be north of Valley and northeast of Lynette, right there along I-85, right there at the Kia Motors plant on I-85, and it's moving off to the northeast. We'll zoom back out and show you the big picture, and there it is. Thanks to everybody that has joined us so far this evening. We say hello to Deborah Brown. Sharon Willis has got us going on. Hey, Sharon, thank you for joining us. Sharon Smith is in there. Also, Nita Starnes has joined us this evening. We invite you to share with all of your friends on your friend list. Share Dr. Don's weather page and share our live broadcast so that we can get as many folks as possible listening to us when we go live, especially during times of severe weather. So what we're going to be doing tonight, for those of you that have just joined us, we're going to be talking about the weather in Alabama as we get ready to kick off high school football season tonight, the first games of the season. And also we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on down in the tropics. So what we're going to do right now is go through our normal prime time forecast and get that done so we can come back and watch these storms over in West Alabama that is moving in the general direction of East Alabama. If we do get showers at some of the ball games in East Alabama, I think we're still at least an hour away. Of course, we're about 50 minutes away from kickoff, so that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as we move forward. The rain chances have dropped tremendously. Since this time yesterday, we had about a 60 to 70% chance of rain tonight. Now, the Weather Service has dropped that back to about a 30 to 40% chance for most locations across East Alabama, but we do have that small broken line of storms over in West Alabama that's moving east at this hour. So let's go ahead and jump right into some tropic talk. And we do have a pretty wild situation setting up out in the tropics. We actually have three areas that we're keeping an eye on. The first one is tropical number 14. And that is going to, I'll show you the track in just a few moments. We have 14. We also now have tropical depression Laura. And then we have disturbance number 1. Disturbance number 1 had a 40% chance of development this time yesterday. That has now been bumped down to about a 30% chance of development over the next 5 days or so. So let's take a look at TD14, and this one is expected to go to storm status pretty much any time now, and then move right across the extreme eastern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula and end up in the southern Gulf of Mexico as a storm, and then potentially go to hurricane status sometime between Monday morning at 2 a.m. and Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. And then potentially go back to storm status just before landfall in the vicinity of Galveston, Texas. And I think part of the reason why the Hurricane Center is banking on this storm maybe losing a little strength and dropping back to tropical storm status just before landfall is because we're going to have another storm sitting over here in the north central Gulf of Mexico that is probably going to be the dominant storm moving forward. At least it is now. And so the dominant storm it typically takes a little bit of energy from the storm that is not dominant. And I posted a pretty good little video on Dr. Don's weather page last night that I found out there on YouTube from a meteorologist that describes what happens when you have two storms like this. He's actually talking more about if two storms collide. You know, folks think, and if you listen to if you listen to our current state of media, if you call it that, they would lead you to believe that this is going to be some type of mega storm if these two storms were to collide. And number one, they're probably not going to collide. And number two, if they did, one storm would just absorb the other. It wouldn't necessarily end up being some mega huge storm out there in the Gulf of Mexico. That's just not the way it works. 1933 was the last time we had two landfalling tropical systems at basically the same time. So that's pretty interesting that it's been that long since we've seen this. After all, it is 2020, so not very surprising that we may actually see two storms make landfall at the same time. One of them, and I'm going to show you in just a few moments, most likely will make landfall as a hurricane. Right now, the National Hurricane Center thinks that TD14 will make landfall as a tropical storm, but it's conceivable that 14 could make landfall as a hurricane as well. We could actually have two falling hurricanes at the same time at a distance from, well, maybe New Orleans over to Galveston, because the latest information from the National Hurricane Center now pushes Laura a little bit further west. That has been the trend. You know, every time we have an approaching storm, there is some type of trend taking place. Either the storm is growing bigger, it's growing weaker, it's growing larger in size. It looks like it's going to be more of a wind storm than a rainstorm, or it looks like it's going to be more of a rainstorm. And then you have the trend on which way the track is trending. And in this particular storm, it has been trending to the west for the last 48 hours or so. And so the latest update at 5 p.m. this afternoon from the National Hurricane Center has it shoved a little bit further to the west. So now, instead of it looking, this time yesterday it looked like Panama City. And then last night around 11 p.m. it looked like Pensacola. And now it looks like New Orleans. Well, of course, the folks down there in New Orleans don't want to see this. They're still, after all this time, recovering from Katrina. So, not real good news for the folks down there in New Orleans. But let me caution you, we are still, we're talking about Wednesday at 2 p.m., sometime after 2 p.m. Wednesday for a landfall here. So that's still a long way off. There is still time for things to change. And I want to explain the cone of uncertainty. That the area there that you see that's hatched in between the white lines, that's what's called the cone of uncertainty. And all that means is that the center of circulation of this storm could end up tracking anywhere within this cone of uncertainty. A lot of folks think that this shaded area on the track is just the area where you're going to see hurricane effects, and if you live outside of those outside white lines, you have nothing to worry about. And that's simply not the case. As a matter of fact, I think the Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service ought to look at changing this a little bit, because for those that don't follow weather very much, this can be misleading. This is just simply a graphic that shows you the area that the National Weather Service could be making an error on where that center is going to track. In other words, it could come up through the Florida Straits and veer off to the right and come right into Apalachicola. Or it could veer to the left. If it veers to the left and stays over Cuba the entire time, that's probably going to tear it apart. But let's say it did make it through Cuba and back out into the southern Gulf, and it goes to the far left of this track, then it would come all the way over and come in probably somewhere along the Louisiana-Texas coast. Well, the Hurricane Center has it splitting this cone of error and has it coming in right now around New Orleans, right down the center part. So always keep that in mind. This white hatched area is an area where the storm could track anywhere inside of that hatched area. That's not the area where the hurricane effects could be felt. They could be much wider. I mean, we're talking South Georgia, certainly South Alabama, southern Mississippi, Louisiana, and eastern Texas could feel Laura as Laura makes landfall if this track verifies. And then they think Laura's going to turn back off to the north and then possibly curve back up through northern Mississippi, back up into northern Tennessee, and then back off to the northeast. So that will keep all of Alabama and Georgia on the wrong side of the storm, and that's where the heavy rains and possible tornado threat and the bad weather is on the nasty side or the right side of that center of circulation. So always keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at your Storm Prediction Center convective outlook for your Saturday. We do have a chance of just general scattered thunderstorms on Saturday across just about all the eastern half of the United States, including all of Alabama and Georgia, but nothing severe expected. Here's your national loop, and you can see that we have that low pressure center that's over there in eastern Mississippi now that's pushing those storms into west Alabama, and that will retreat or actually kind of dissolve after it gets up there in central Tennessee. It'll just kind of dissipate. But that leaves us in some tropical air here across Alabama and Georgia, so we will hold on to a chance of rain through the weekend, and then as both of these tropical systems approach the central and northern Gulf of Mexico, that's going to usher in a lot of moisture off the Gulf of Mexico across Alabama and Georgia as well, starting late Tuesday into Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe even into Friday of next week. So potentially we are looking at a wet period between now and maybe this time next week. Before we get all this stuff out of here, we'll take a look at the Goes East Southern Mississippi Valley satellite, and this is valid currently as of 6:18 Central, 7:18 Eastern on August 21st, your Friday evening. You can clearly see the low pressure down here spinning. You look right there along the Alabama-Mississippi state line, about halfway up the state of Mississippi there. That's what's left of this low pressure system that's kind of been hanging out in the southeast for the last couple of days. That's what's been responsible for all this rain we've seen over the last 48 hours or so. And you can see it spinning, and that's what's kicking these showers back into west Alabama this afternoon. And that's going to continue to move on off to the northeast and end up into central Mississippi or central Tennessee, I should say, by this time tomorrow afternoon. And taking the better chances of rain with it, though we can't rule out a scattered shower on Saturday and Sunday also. But you do see a lot of white dots there between this area of low pressure and East Alabama, and those are those small storms that are trying to get going this evening. You can see some of the bigger storms down there in southwest Alabama, too. All that'll be moving up to the northeast. So your total precipitation as of 7 a.m., Friday morning, this is the past 24 hours, ending at 7 a.m. Friday morning. Still some pretty good rain amounts showing up down there in Chambers County. 1 to 2 inches in some spots down there. Most folks saw around a half inch of rain in the past 24 hours. And look up there in North Georgia. We picked up a ton of rain up here. 1 to 2, maybe 2.5 inches in some spots across the northeast Georgia mountains. Here is the total rainfall expected for the next 5 days across the southeastern United States. It's very obvious where the heaviest rainfall is going to be, down there along northwest Florida, the Alabama coast, back over into southern Mississippi, and then along the Louisiana coast and the upper Texas coast as well. There are some spots down there that could be looking at 5 to 7 inches of rain in the next 5 days. If these two tropical storms make the expected landfall in the areas that's pegged right now. And let me go back up there to that. Just let me show you. Let's see. No, we can't do that. All right, I'm going to take you over to another website in just a few moments and show you something else that's pretty interesting. But before we do that, let's finish our primetime forecast. So we are going to move on now to your local temperatures. This is the expected high temperature for tomorrow across East Alabama. Roanoke goes to 86, Wadley at 85, Wedowee 85. We'll hit 84 over in Carrollton. LaGrange goes to 86, 85 down in Opelika. Auburn tops out at 86. And Rockford goes to 86 on your Saturday. We'll see probably more clouds than sun, though we'll see a peak of the sun from time to time on Saturday. But that cloud coverage and the possible rain showers will keep our temperatures down into the mid to upper 80s, which is very welcome, given what we have been going through most of this summer. Back to the live radar right quick. I've already shown this to you, but we'll show it to you again for those of you just joining us. We do have some showers and thunder showers over in West Alabama. The closest to us right now, there's one small shower down there just to the northeast of Lynette. The next closest would be over here around Childersburg. That is moving off to the east-northeast. That will probably, for the most part, stay away from Lineville and Ashland, though it could clip extreme northern Clay County. This is more of a threat for Cleburne County, for you folks up there going to ball games. Then there's a little bit of a break in the action. Then it picks up again right there along I-65 just north of Clanton. And then you got a pretty strong line of thunderstorms all the way back down to Thomasville and back down into Mississippi. That's moving east-northeast as well. Now, the big question here is, can this line of storms make it into East Alabama before the games are over tonight? And I got to tell you, they're not moving that fast. Let me just put the radar in motion. We do also have some development down there around Andalusia and Troy that's moving north. Yeah, this is a loop over the last 3 hours, so this stuff is just really formed over here, though. It's just not, it is moving northeast, but it's not a very fast mover, so we're just going to have to watch it as it goes to see if it gets any closer to East Alabama. It's certainly possible. Now let's take a look at your Southern Union State Community College Futurecast radar. We start this at 8 p.m. tonight. And there you go. It's the radar model is showing around midnight. Some of that rain may make it into East Alabama. We're going to let it loop through again, and we'll check the timing. Now that's, if this particular model is correct, then that's what we would be looking at. And then by Saturday afternoon, around 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock, we start to see more showers and thunderstorms pop up across North Georgia and then also across East Alabama and a few there in West Georgia. So here's 8 o'clock, and so we'll just watch this together. Yeah, Tallapoosa County by about midnight, and then it just kind of falls apart. But I'll tell you that the look at 8 o'clock on the model doesn't necessarily match up with the look of the live radar, so I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. So here's your 6-day forecast from the Shepherd's Weather Center on Dr. Don's weather page for your Saturday. 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon. 86 your afternoon high. We'll go down to around 67 on Saturday night. 30% chance of a shower or thunderstorm Saturday night. On Sunday, more sun than what we'll see on Saturday. We'll drop the chance of rain back to around 50%. 86 will be your high. On Monday, we'll hold on to a 50% chance of rain, 87. Then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right now the National Weather Service has us at about a 50 to 60% chance of rain. I would highly suspect that those numbers will go extremely higher or could go extremely lower, depending on exactly what both of our tropical systems do out there on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. If they curve back to the northeast and come across Tennessee, then we're going to be a lot wetter. If they go further north than that before they curve back to the east, then our chances of rain may go down rather rapidly after the storms pass our area. Here's your extended forecast. We start this on Friday, August the 28th. We go back to a hot, sultry pattern. As you can see, our temperatures get back up into the 90s. Long range out there on September 1. It says 96. I don't know if I believe that. Also a 96 out there on September the 2nd. But it's certainly possible. Scattered showers and thunder showers that entire time as well. So let's go now back to, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to take you over the couple of things I want to show you off the internet. For those of you that are going to watch Randolph County area high school football on video tonight, if you're not going to a ball game and you want to watch the video or listen to the audio, you can do that on iSchool Sports Network. Now, Adam was on here last night, Adam Slay with the network, and he was explaining to you how all this works. But there you can see this is the home splash screen of the iSchool Sports Network website, and it is just that, iSchoolSportsNetwork.com. So when you get to the home page, this is what you're going to see. Now, if you're a Handley Tiger fan, you want to listen or watch the Handley Tigers tonight, all you have to do to listen to them is simply click on the audio only. It's right there under the Handley Tiger logo. It says audio only. And that'll take you over to the Mixlr app, and you can listen to the Handley Tigers. Now, if you want to watch the video, you click right there where it says video, click here, and then you have to set up an account. And you only have to do that one time. And then once you set up the account, then you purchase the game, and then you can watch it. And if you have a way of connecting the internet to your smart TV, you can watch it on your big screen TV in your living room. Pretty cool, huh? And it's real easy. It's a secure server, and it doesn't take very long to get all this set up. But I would suggest this I wouldn't wait till exactly 7 o'clock before I went in and did my account. I would go ahead and take care of that. And the video doesn't come up until sometime shortly before 7. The audio is up now. They started about 4 minutes ago. All right, so now Randolph County and Handley are playing tonight in Roanoke. So there's only going to be one video feed. There's not going to be two. And so to watch the video of the Handley-Randolph County game, just click on the video, click here under the Handley Tiger logo. It'll take you there. Now, audio, there are two different feeds. You can listen to the Handley crew under the Handley logo, or you can listen to the Randolph County crew under the Randolph County logo. The Wadley Bulldogs are on the road at Horseshoe Bend over in New Site tonight. And there will be no video feed from that ball game, but you can listen to the audio by clicking under the Wadley Bulldog logo. And then the Woodland Bobcats are at home, and they're playing Fayetteville tonight at home. And you can watch their video by clicking on video, click here, or listen to them on audio only, click here. Now, the video link is going to get you both. You're going to get, for instance, at Woodland, you're going to get Taylor and TA. If you watch it, you're going to get the video and the audio, or you just click on the audio. Obviously, you get just the audio. So that's kind of how that works. It's pretty neat, and I think it's a great service that the iSchool Sports Network is doing for East Alabama. Now I'm going to take you over to another website. This is, if you haven't found this, I encourage you to check it out. This is SpaghettiModels.com. Or Mike's weather page. Mike has become somewhat of a celebrity. He's down in Florida, and he is a tropical weather type specialist. He watches tropical. I do severe weather and winter weather. And of course, I'll do some tropical weather when it starts to affect Alabama and Georgia, but tropical is not my specialty. It is Mike's specialty, and I've talked to him several times, and he's a super cool dude, and he has got a great website at spaghettimodels.com, or you can search Mike's weather page. He's also on Facebook. And the beauty part about his website, now I'll just scroll down. Anything you have ever wanted to know about tropical weather can be found on one page. He doesn't have 15 different menus at the top of his website where you have to go to 30 different pages to find and dig deep to find the information that you need. It's set up pretty cool. As you can see, I'm still scrolling. This is still the home page. And every model, every radar, everything, and all this stuff comes from the National Weather Service. Most of it does. Some of it comes from the National Hurricane Center. Some of it comes from Tropical Tidbits. He pulls it from multiple different sources, but it's all very reliable information. And if you're even remotely a weather geek, like I am, you will certainly enjoy spaghettimodels.com. I mean, it's just full of information. So what I wanted to do was go here, and I want to show you a couple of the spaghetti models. First, we're going to take a look at TD14, and I want to show you what some of the models are saying as far as where this storm is going. Now, you'll see most of them are grouped really tight there coming across the Yucatan Peninsula. But then when we get up there in the central Gulf of Mexico, the models start spreading out. What you want to look for when you see these spaghetti models, you want to see them grouped in real close. The closer they're together, the higher the confidence is on where the storm is going to go. And we still have a really good grouping up here just offshore of Galveston, Texas. So I feel pretty good that is most likely where this storm is going to go. But you see the outliers there. We have an outlier to the left that would be this red line. And then we have 3 outliers to the right or to the north, which brings it in just to the west of New Orleans. Then one of the outliers brings it up and curves it hard to the right and brings it across central Mississippi. And if this were to continue and if this were to verify, it would bring it right across northwest Alabama. The closer the eye of the storm comes to East Alabama and Georgia, the higher the risk of severe weather is going to be. Though understand that we still don't have a good handle on exactly how large this storm is going to be. But you know those outer feeder bands, sometimes 75, 100, 150 miles away from the center, that outer feeder band is where the tornado threat sits up. And we won't know that until the storm gets over the mountainous terrain there and back out into the southern Gulf of Mexico and starts to pick steam up again, because the land mass is going to knock a little wind out of its sail. Now, Laura, which is going to be a little bit to the east, may not interact with land at all, and that's scary. But TD14 most likely will interact with land because it doesn't have far to go. It'll be over land. So we got to wait until it gets past the land mass before we can see exactly how large the wind field is going to be and how large the spirals are going to be around the center of circulation to tell how far to the right that threat of severe weather is going to go. I think if it stays on this course, mostly southwest Alabama would get the severe threat off of this storm. But if it takes the right angle and comes in just west of New Orleans and then curves back to the northeast across Tennessee, then that puts most of East Alabama and certainly West Georgia, if not all of North Georgia, under the gun for the possibility of severe weather. That is Tropical Depression 14. Now, let's go back and scroll down and grab Laura. Well, before I go to Laura, let me finish one more thought on 14. This is the, what I'm about to show you now is the intensity guidance. And so this is a composite of several different models on how strong we think the storm is going to get. And again, you look for grouping. You want to go to the area that has the closest lines together, the largest number of lines together, and that's probably where you're going to end up. So most of them is taking it to a high tropical storm or a low Category 1 hurricane, and that is the official forecast, is for it to make it to Category 1 status, but it'll be a low-end Category 1. You see the outliers there. We have one that goes to a medium Category 1, and then we have one model that takes it up to a Category 2, and not just a Category 2, but a medium-strength Category 2. That, again, is an outlier. We also have, on the other end of the spectrum, an outlier that just barely keeps it a tropical storm. We have 1, 2, 3 of those that say this thing will just barely make tropical storm status and then fall off quickly as it approaches the Galveston coast. So that is probably more of a possibility than seeing a medium Category 2. The average of all of it's going to be right there at Category 1 status, and then probably falling off to a tropical storm just as it makes landfall, which is the official forecast. So you can kind of look at these graphs and understand why the National Hurricane Center puts the forecast out that they currently have. All right, so let me go back over here, and we're going to scroll down. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Laura, and I think that Laura is more of a concern for East Alabama and for Georgia. Well, it's more of a concern certainly for Alabama and more of a concern for Georgia too. And this one has a better chance of giving us some nasty weather across East Alabama and West Georgia in particular. And if it comes across Tennessee or even southern Kentucky, it could be an issue across North Georgia also. All right, so here we are at 5 o'clock this afternoon. You see we stay at storm status through 2 a.m. Sunday. 2 p.m. Sunday, we are still at storm status. And you see that it just barely skirts Cuba. And I'm thinking that's why the National Hurricane Center is keeping this at storm status all the way through the landmass. You know, there's some pretty significant mountains down there. And then once we hit the central Gulf of Mexico, we go to hurricane status at about 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. And then by 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, we're still at hurricane status and most likely making landfall out there in the extreme southern tip of the state of Louisiana. There's Lake Pontchartrain right there. So New Orleans sits on the west side of Lake Pontchartrain. So this is, if this model verifies, we're probably looking, if not a direct hit on New Orleans, we're looking at this storm possibly tracking right over Lake Pontchartrain. Well, you know, Lake Pontchartrain is basically a big bowl sitting out there. It's not very deep. Of course, we learned all this during Katrina. And it's surrounded by a levee, at least on the New Orleans side anyway. So they don't want this storm to come right over Lake Pontchartrain. That could be a problem. So, but now, having said that, and I'll remind you again, this time yesterday, the Hurricane Center had the storm over here at Pensacola, Florida. In 24 hours prior to that, it was over here at Panama City. And when all this started about 3 days ago, there was question as to whether it was even going to make it in the Gulf of Mexico. It at that point looked like it might come right up the center of Florida and fizzle out, or maybe skirt the coast and go up the Atlantic side. So since we started tracking this thing or looking at it about 2 or 3 days ago, with every update from the National Hurricane Center, they have bumped it to the left a little each time. And right now we're over here looking at landfall somewhere around southern Louisiana and tracking up through somewhere around Lake Pontchartrain. So, will the 11 p.m. update bump it even further to the left? Or does TD14 down here start influencing Laura and potentially push Laura back to the right? That's my concern for the Alabama coast and the Florida coast. And I know you folks down there in southwest Georgia are breathing somewhat of a sigh of relief with this latest track. but do not let your guard down because, there is human interaction with these forecasts, but these forecasts are largely based upon what the computer is spitting out. And the Hurricane Center's been pretty good. In the last several years, they have nailed some forecasts, and especially when you see the models grouped as well as they are on this one. And that, I know I danced way around the world to get to that point, but that's the point I'm trying to make to you. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. See how tight those spaghetti models are grouped? If they were spread out but going in the general same direction, that's one thing. But you see how tight they are. I mean, coming over Cuba, there's only maybe 2 or 3 that's out there on their own. Everybody else is taking the exact same route to get through Cuba. Then when we get in the central Gulf of Mexico, we get a little spread going on. But up to this point, I would pretty much put the farm on this track at this point, because that is about as well grouped a spaghetti model as you'll ever want to see. But then when we get up there in the central Gulf of Mexico, things start to get a little uncertain. I think by the 11 o'clock tonight, and certainly by the Saturday a.m. update, we'll see these tracks up here in the northern Gulf of Mexico much closer. Now, will they be over here by Mobile, or will they be back over here toward Galveston? I mean, it's conceivable that Galveston may be fixing to get a 1-2 punch. Probably not, though. If you'll follow the center of the grouping here, it takes it in right there on the southern tip of Louisiana. And I think that's probably what we're looking at. But then look what happens afterwards. And this, again, understand, this is going to be, we're pretty confident this is going to be a hurricane at landfall, probably a Cat 1, maybe a high-end Cat 1. It's conceivable it could be a Cat 2. Of course, we all remember what Michael did to us. Michael waited until it got right offshore and it just blew up on us. And that could happen again. Probably won't, though, because of the interaction with TD14. But you see what happens when it makes landfall. It gets up there in central Louisiana and then makes a pretty drastic curve back to the right. We have one model bringing it almost across northwest Alabama. We have another one that brings it up there around Memphis. And even this red outlier out here curves it back. Even if this outlier ends up being correct, it's still curving, and if you continue that curve on out, it's going to bring it probably up here in Kentucky. That's still close enough, especially for North Georgia, with the interaction of the mountains up here to have some nasty weather. But anywhere from the orange curve back over to the right outlier, which is Mobile or Pensacola, anywhere in there, if the curve is correct, then it's going to keep East Alabama and West Georgia in that right-hand quadrant of the storm, where the threat of severe weather is generally at its greatest. So that's why I don't want you to pay a ton of attention to the cone of uncertainty. I worked with a girl for 6 years, and she knew it irritated me, so she did it every single time. She calls this the cone of death. And that is just not what it is, folks. This is not the area that of effect from the hurricane. This is the cone of uncertainty. And when we say that, that's the area where the eye could track. It could track to the right of this, it could track to the left, or anywhere in the middle of this hatched area. Cone of uncertainty, not the cone of death, Marcia. All right, so... And so that's why I wanted to show you the long-range guidance track of the spaghetti model, because I think it's pretty well etched in stone until we get to right there, about 2 o'clock Tuesday. Then we could see a right-hand turn up into Pensacola. We could see a left-hand turn over to close to Galveston. We're going to split that, though, at this point and say probably south of New Orleans. This is where the landfall would be on this one. Of course, folks, there is always a bust element in every weather system we have, and we know that by now. We could wake up tomorrow morning and both of these storms be completely gone. I don't think that's going to happen by any wild stretch of the imagination, but it's possible. All right, so we're about 15 minutes away from the top. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put you back over here on the radar. And then I am going to go back and look at some of the comments in the video. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about what I have been talking about, or about what may or may not happen tonight or into next week, right now would be a good time to pose those questions. Cynthia Crenshaw's watching us. Hello. Hello. Michael Mazzarchi. Look at there. Michael is up in Rabun County, Georgia. You folks have heard me talk about this. You know, when you go to the mountains, when you go up through North Georgia, you stop at a place called the Dillard House. You cannot go within 100 miles of Dillard, Georgia, and not stop at the Dillard House. That is the best food, family style. You go down there and sit, they just keep bringing the bowls out there. I mean, it gets nasty. Well, that's where Mazzarchi's at. Yeah, a little bit south of that, but that's the general area. Mountain City, that's one of his coverage areas. So he's had a long day. He's been on the Appalachian Trail searching for a missing person all day long, and that person was located, transported to the hospital. He had some medical issues, but he was located. So kudos to Rabun County Rescue and White County. White County assisted on that one as well, up on the Appalachian Trail in northeast Georgia this afternoon. Hey, Dana, nice to have you in here. We appreciate you. Alan Jones. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate you watching. Well, Jonathan, it's about time. You're supposed to be here as soon as you see the Go Live splash banner there, because you're supposed to be monitoring the chat room and answering any questions I can't get to while I'm doing. Jonathan's my administrative assistant, in case you guys didn't know that. If you were watching last night, you know, I gave him orders to bring me 24 donuts, a Starbucks coffee with 2 French vanilla creamers, and to be on site at 7:30 this morning. And I am proud to say that little John Boy did exactly as he was instructed. I ended up with 24 donuts, a large cup of coffee with 2 French vanilla creamers. The only problem is the coffee didn't last but just a minute. And I just kind of thought he should have had a coffee maker in his vehicle and kept my coffee fresh. So we're going to work on that. But I told him I would tell everybody that he did do what I asked him to do. Thank you, Linda McKee. I appreciate you watching. Sharon Smith. I will. I'll keep you updated on it. All right, so Kaylin Davis Fuller says that they are going on vacation next week to Gulf Shores. Well, and she's wanting to know what the odds are of that trip being canceled. Next Thursday. Going to Gulf Shores next Thursday. Oh, I think you're probably in good shape. At this point, I don't expect there to be any damage in the Gulf Shores area. I mean, there could be some spotted power outages, and I mean, if a tornado were to come through there could be some issues. But on the track that we're looking at right now, if that verifies, I don't see hurricane damage in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So the storm makes landfall probably on the current track. It makes landfall in Louisiana sometime early Wednesday evening, and then probably is up in western Mississippi, right along the Mississippi-Arkansas state line by 2 o'clock on Thursday. So it's north of Gulf Shores, well north of Gulf Shores by next Thursday. So I think you're going to be okay if we stay on the current track. Now, any shift back to the right or back to the east or back closer to Gulf Shores or Mobile, then we may have to talk again. But on the current track or any further to the west of the current track, I think Gulf Shores will be perfectly fine by next Thursday. So I wouldn't be concerned about it right now. Yes, Sharon, you're absolutely 100% correct. It is 2020. Anything and pretty much everything is certainly possible at this point. Folks, I want to again thank all of our supporters here on Dr. Don's weather page for making our broadcast possible. There are costs involved with this, and they certainly help with that, and you can help with that as well. If you would like to, you can go over to paypal.me/Dr. Don WX. It is secure. It's through PayPal. You do not have to have a PayPal account, and it's very quick and easy. And anything you can do to help us, we greatly appreciate it. We have, there's just a lot of things that we have to do to keep all this working. And it does cost money. We started doing this a little over a year ago, so it's obvious we're not going to go away. We're here for the duration. And for those of you that don't quite understand why we do this, I'm from East Alabama, spent 20 years on the radio and also in emergency management, fire services, law enforcement in Randolph County, Alabama. And so I lived there for a very long time. And there is very little television coverage for severe weather or weather period in East Alabama and some of the West Georgia areas as well. And I'm not being derogative of the Atlanta television market or the Birmingham television market. I have got friends that work in both. But those are two large metropolitan television market areas with millions of people in each. And their primary advertisers, which is how broadcast radio and television survives, want to target the folks in those market areas where there are millions of people. So when severe coverage starts, then programming is preempted, so the commercials don't air, and so the revenue doesn't come in. I know it doesn't sound good on the outside looking in because a life is a whole lot more important than a dollar bill. I get that. But there comes a point that decisions have to be made. And unfortunately, those decisions are made based on population and who is being affected by the severe weather. And by the time those storms get into East Alabama and some areas of West Georgia, the numbers drop off so drastically, Atlanta and Birmingham just cannot, as bad as this sounds, they just cannot afford to do live wall-to-wall coverage. Atlanta, Randolph County, and Cleburne County, and somewhat Chambers County is in the Atlanta ADI, or the Atlanta television market. So Atlanta is charged by the FCC to cover, but they're not charged to do wall-to-wall coverage. They can scroll at the bottom of the screen. They have to run the EAS message at the bottom of the screen, and they do. I've seen them do it, so I know they do. But they're not going to do wall-to-wall coverage, and so that's why we're here. I was in Randolph County for 20 years, built a reputation. I was there. Didn't matter what time, day or night it was. I was on the radio with the severe weather information, and I built that reputation, and folks know they can trust me. So with modern technology the way it is, boom, here we are with Dr. Don's weather page, and it doesn't matter if I'm in Moose Jaw, Alaska. I can still give you timely, life-saving information through the wonderful world of the internet, and so that's why we're here. And like I said, it started a little over a year ago. We had a tornado threat up in Wedowee. April was a year ago, went on that night, and folks, it just took off like wildfire. So thank you. Thank you for following us. Please share us with everybody and have them share with their friends. And if you can go to paypal.me/Dr. Don WX and help us out, we certainly would appreciate it. All right, let's go back over to the radar, and we're going to wrap this up in about 6 minutes or so because the video portion of the Randolph County games, other than the Wadley game, will start here in just a few minutes. Games kick off in just a few minutes, so I want to step aside and let you watch that. And then if we were to get some threatening weather at any of the venues in East Alabama, I'll be right back, and we'll cover that for you. And that's what I want to recap for you right quick before we wrap this up. We'll start over here in Georgia, though there are no games going on in Georgia tonight because Georgia's football season got pushed back because of COVID. We do have some showers lined up basically along I-85 from about the Kia plant just south of LaGrange all the way up just south of Peachtree City. Things in Atlanta, on the east side of Atlanta, are still pretty bad. We're talking, you see these storms are just not moving very much. Up there around Redan, out there on 78, out towards Stone Mountain, very heavy rainfall there. Jackson County has got some stuff up there around Arcade, down to around Monroe. So Athens, heads up, and that's where little John Boy's at. He's in Athens. So heads up, Jonathan. Y'all got a line of pretty good thunderstorms coming at you. Storms down there around Greensboro as well. And then up there around Gainesville, Lake Lanier. I'm looking good up here on Waka Mountain at the Dr. Don Studios right this moment. May have a little rain coming in. But then back over here in East Alabama, this is primarily what we're going to be paying attention to because our primary coverage is Cleburne, Randolph, Clay, Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers, and Lee in Alabama. And then in Georgia, we cover Carroll, Hurd, Troup, and Harris. If it's really bad weather, we'll go outside that coverage area. But we're watching this line of showers and thunderstorms moving east into East Alabama. We have several ball games going on over here in East Alabama tonight. So from Childersburg down to Clanton and down even on down into Bibb County, just north of Selma. There's a break in the action, then it picks up again just west of Oroville and goes on down into southwest Alabama. This is generally moving to the east-northeast. So we will have to see if this makes it into East Alabama before our ball games are over tonight. Should start to see some of this stuff weakening in the next hour or so. So I kind of question whether or not it makes it into Randolph County. Or even over there in New Site where Wadley's playing tonight. But you folks up here in Clay County, certainly you folks over here in Talladega County, if you're playing ball in Childersburg or anywhere along Highway 280 down into Tallapoosa County, you got to watch this real close. You got a lot of lightning out there. So lightning delays are certainly going to be possible if you're in central or southern Talladega County, or if you're in central or western Coosa County. Now, you folks in Clay County and down in Tallapoosa County, keep an eye on that. And also Cleburne, Randolph, Chambers, and Lee. Let's watch what's going on back off to our west. Odds are better that it's going to get those counties closer to the storm, obviously. And again, I'm going to be watching this throughout the rest of the evening. And if these storms start to move into Clay, Tallapoosa, certainly if we start to get any warnings or any serious lightning out of it, I'll be right back and we'll cover that for you until this threat no longer exists. You see, we still have a lot of stuff down here in South Alabama. This is moving north, so Montgomery, Autauga, Prattville, Autauga County, Prattville, Elmore, Lowndes, Montgomery. You may have to deal with this stuff just north of Andalusia. That's moving north as well. And certainly down there around Daleville, Troy, Ozark, Enterprise, storms down there as well. So there you go. Let me check the board right quick before we wrap this up and see if there's any other questions. Let's see here. Miss Paula, thanks for keeping us informed. Casita, Alabama. Good to have you in there, Casita. You're probably seeing an occasional stroke of lightning down there in Casita, but that storm is up there now just past the Kia plant, moving to the northeast. So Casita's in good shape down there right now. So thanks, folks, for joining us tonight. We'll do this every Friday night. We'll go on at 6 o'clock Central, and we'll take you up to 7 o'clock when most of the games get underway. And then if we have any threatening weather across East Alabama and once Georgia gets started across West Central Georgia, then I'll be right back with you, and we'll cover it. So if you're at a stadium, remember, if you see lightning, turn that phone on and go to Dr. Don's weather page, and we'll keep you updated right here on Dr. Don's weather page. I'll have a blessed weekend.